Hi guys, I'm David with Media Unlocked, and today we're doing a pretty cool review on the Proam Dvc200 8-foot travel jib. Now, the nice thing about the Proam travel jib is that it's under $300. Now that is just for the two 4-foot bars that come with it, and nothing else like the tripod or the monitor mount. So here's the actual jib right here. But before we dive into the actual review, which we're actually going to put the jib together, we're going to connect everything, and I'm actually going to show you how long it takes me to actually put the whole entire thing together. So that will be a little slow, so if it is a little boring, just jump on forwards. But for anybody out there that really want a full review on this travel jib and actually really want to see how long it really takes to put together, then this is going to be a great review for you guys. But before we dive into that, I kind of want to talk about the tripods that I have that I'm going to connect the jib to and why I think they work or don't work, because that is a very big deal. If you have a cheap $30 Walmart tripod, you're not going to want to buy this jib and try to run it off that tripod, because it is going to tear your tripod to pieces, and the shots are going to be kind of shaky because the tripod will not be able to handle the actual jib itself. So I have two tripods and a light stand. I really honestly do not like either one of my tripods or the light stand as a use for the travel jib, but I really don't have another choice because that's all I have to connect to it, so I'm going to make it work. So I guess we'll start right here with the light stand. I have a very cheap light stand that has a 1/4 inch connector. That's how I connected the travel jib to it, and it actually bent the 1/4 inch screw part right here at the top, and the light stand did not work at all. As well, if you have a nicer light stand that's, you know, $50 to $100 plus higher end, it might work okay with it. The problem being that then you're going to have some weight distribution issues, so you're probably going to need some sandbags or some type of weight to counterbalance the actual jib itself, to keep the jib from falling over while you're in the middle of a shot. So next I have, I believe, my Quantaray or PacSun, I believe. Oh yeah, here it is. It's my, yeah, Quantaray tripod. The problem with this tripod is this is probably my best tripod. It definitely holds the most weight and seems to be the most stable tripod that I have. This is what I do most of my shooting with. My 5D Mark II and my T2i and T3i are all shot on this tripod. The problem is the plastic plate on the top of it. The jib kind of was, the jib was kind of pulling the plate to pieces because of the way the jib works and the weight of the jib. And so it was, the tripod itself was struggling, especially the plate. So I had to take the jib off the plate because I could see that it was starting to pull my plate apart. So you're gonna, if you have a similar style tripod with a metal plate, the jib will probably be okay with it. But if you've got the plastic plate, it's not gonna work very well. Then we have my Proline tripod, which is probably my least favorite tripod out of the two here. This was a $90 tripod. This is my most expensive tripod, and this thing was not very well made. I really do not like this Proline tripod, but I do have a metal plate. It does secure itself really well, so that's one nice feature about it. And the tripod's kind of a little bit weak, but if I bring out my legs far enough, it's able to give me enough weight balance that my jib is able to work fairly smoothly on it. So as you can see, I've got a pretty nice looking plate to actually connect to the jib, and this seems to hold up all right when you actually got the jib connected. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull out the jib. I'm going to connect the monitor to it. I'm going to connect the wires to the actual DSLR camera, and I'm actually going to show you me setting this jib up. Now it's going to take me about maybe roughly 10 to 15 minutes to set this up. This jib it's fast. In my opinion, 10 to 15 minutes is fast to set a piece of equipment like this up, but it is not like super fast. So if you want something that you can literally get out of your vehicle, set up within minutes, this does take a little bit of time. Now, once you've used it for a little while, you'll get better and faster at it. Also, I've made a few upgrades to it that I'm going to talk about while I'm setting it up. So we'll be right back with me setting up the 8-foot Proam Dvc200 travel jib. Okay guys, you're going to have to bear with me. We're going to put this jib together. It does take a little bit of time to actually put it together and get it ready to start shooting. That includes adding in the monitor mount that I kind of built for it. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take off this top piece, my plate. I'm going to be connecting that to the jib here in a second. But I need to get this tripod set up so it's ready to actually handle some of the weight. So what I find works best is to widen the legs quite a bit, and it seems to be able to handle the weight fairly well that way. Now you can, oh, there we go. You could bring the legs out more if you needed to, or up so it's a little bit higher. But I find that this works fairly well. And then you just want to make sure that your bubble's on the spot. So this is a pretty well centered shot right here. I'm going to tighten everything down. Now you probably want to tighten everything down on your tripod because you're not actually going to be using anything other than side to side with the jib. Everything else the jib will do itself. So I'm going to tighten that down. So I'm not going to be going backwards and forwards or bringing the actual plate piece side to side. I'm only going to be going in a circular motion. So next we want to hook up the jib. I've got a little tool, so we're going to go on and hook that up right now. We want to try to center this as much as possible so the jib is not, it really helps when the jib's actually centered. If your plate piece is too far to one side or the other, it can throw it off a little bit. I've found from just test shots. That seems to be pretty secure. So we're going to go on and slide this into place. And I'm putting it in backwards. Great start. There we go. Tighten that down. Make sure everything's tightened down. Next, we're going to throw the jib together. Now this is a little bit hard to slide in there sometimes. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's a newer jib. Like I said, my buddy let me borrow this to test out. So this tends to be the most difficult part, is getting the jib to actually slide in. There we go. And then you want to tighten these little things down right here, so it won't slide out while you're actually shooting. And then I find it best to go on and hook up your camera first before you throw in the weights. If you throw in the weights, it's going to be off balance, and it's gonna want to go up like this, and it's a lot harder to throw the camera on there without the DSLR or whatever camera you're putting on. Go on and put that on first, in my opinion. So I've got my T3i here, so we're gonna hook her up. Now it would be smart to have a quick release plate. I don't. So what I did is I just went to Lowe's and bought a screw and a bolt. So figure out where you want to put it. I'm going to put it in the far over one right, because we're going to be running a cord, so we have external monitor, and it makes it easier for the cord to fit. Now make sure, which I almost didn't do, put your bolt on first, because you're going to use this bottom bolt piece right here to actually tighten up the camera to make sure it's secure on the jib. And we're going to throw it in the back corner, and we're going to go on and screw her in here. So once you've screwed in your bolt as far as it will go, you're going to tighten her down. Now if you want to bring a wrench or something to do extra tightening, I find that it's pretty tight enough with your hand, but I mean it is a little bit loose, but you're not going to notice that in your shot. But if you want to bring something out to just add a little bit more tightness to it, nothing wrong with that. Next, we're going to throw in a 5-pound weight and a 2.5-pound weight. Now this is one of the upgrades I made to this. It had a probably 3-inch bolt in there before, a 3-inch screw. I went out and bought, I believe this is an 8 or 10-inch screw. And this allows you to put more weights on it. As well, the original one that it comes with, not that I'm aware of, my buddy might have this, but he didn't give it to me. There's really nothing to secure the weights on there. They're just kind of just sitting on the top, which is fine if you just slide them on like this, you know. But I like to secure them a little bit. So I got a washer and a bolt for the bottom, and a washer and a bolt for the top. That way I can secure it a little bit better. It seems to work a lot better that way. So once that's tightened up, the next thing we're going to do, let's tighten her all the way up here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up my mount. I got to get some stuff out of the goodie bag. As you guys can see, we got all kinds of stuff we brought out today. So I've got a Nexus 7 with a program called an app called the DSLR controller, which connects to my Canon T3i all the way back. And this will allow me to view the video and actually control the camera, ISO, aperture, stuff like that. It will allow me to control the camera while I'm actually shooting. So, to secure that, you're going to need a few tools. I made, this is just a basic mount. You can get this at Best Buy for like $15. This is a extra hot shoe mount that actually is made to connect to like the bottom of your camera, and you have a couple extra hot shoes. What I did is I flip it on the side, and I'm able to connect my monitor mount to this, therefore being able to monitor it. But to do so, I need to tighten it down. So you do have a hole up here at the top. You can go from the top to bottom. I go from side. I like it on the side the best. So I'm going to run this little screw to the side up here, and I got a wing nut, which is the easiest way to connect this, I find. And we go on and connect the wing nut in. So once you've got it mostly fairly tight, I'm going to take the Phillips on one side, and then I'm just going to tighten it down. I have the one that when you go to the side, it kind of cranks and holds back, so it seems this screwdriver or Phillips setup here seems to be the easiest way to tighten it down the way you need to. So tighten it down so I got it where I want it. All right, that's tight. Oh, my Phillips just fell out. There it is. Don't want to lose your tools. Try to keep up with everything. I got this little baggie. I've got all my stuff in there. So now what we got to do is we got to hook up the monitor mount and the actual monitor. So we're going to pop this Nexus 7 out of its case. And then we're going to pop it into my DIY, which I will be doing a DIY of how to build yourself a mount for your tablet to use the DSLR controller program. And then I've got a little LCD monitor hookup here, so we're going to screw this in. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then we're going to slide her up here. And we're going to tighten her down so she's nice and clamped down so you can actually, so she won't move while you're shooting. Loosen this up, move this around, and then I'm probably going to reposition the monitor before I shoot, but for now we'll leave the monitor as is. Now you've got this piece which is going to have to connect to the tablet for the DSLR software to work. And last but not least, we're going to run our USB cord from the tablet to the DSLR. So now what I've got all the way, set all the way down throughout this is a little tiny pieces to keep the cords nice and secure. So we're going to run them. We're going to run it through these Velcro pieces that keeps the cord so that they're not going to get in the way of the actual shot. Now be careful when you're pulling these cords because you don't want to yank your monitor and you don't want to break anything. So take your time, there's no hurry. If you are in a hurry, that means that you showed up too late to your shoot. You need to show up earlier next time. Alright. This is a little loose, so what we're going to do is we're going to tighten her up a little bit. Keep running these all the way down. When you get down to the camera, you want to make sure that your camera is, and we're going to flip the screen out, is in video mode. My camera is in video mode. And we're going to plug her in. Now, The software can be a little glitchy, so sometimes you do have to play around with it a little bit. All right, so we've hooked it all up. We've ran the cords back. We're connected to the monitor. One of the last things you want to do is go on and take your lens cap off your camera. Now you want to make sure that wherever you got your lens sitting at, you want to make sure you're not like around anything hard that could scratch your lens. I've just got grass, so I'm not worried about the grass actually scratching my lens, so I'm okay with it sitting down here. And the nice thing about the monitor is, with the software, I actually can control all of my settings, so I can get my exposure where I want them to be right here from the monitor. So one last thing we're going to do that I did not know about that was driving me crazy the first day I actually took this out and practiced with it is you need to take this part off. It's a lock for your actual tilt. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this wing nut out and we're going to unlock it. So once I unlock it, instead of taking these, I'm going to leave these right here on the actual device so that I don't lose it. So I'm just going to wing nut this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tighten it down, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to hang there. It's not going to be in the way. This is the Nexus 7, just for your information. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my camera up, and I'm going to bring my monitor. I'm going to readjust my monitor a little bit. Alright, we got my monitor adjusted. So I like to stand on this side and control everything like this while I'm looking down at the monitor. But right now I need to get my lighting right, so I need to go in and fix all that. So let's see here, that looks good. And my f-stop's a little high, so we're going to bring her down. And still a little dark. There we go. And I'm going to put my camera in autofocus. Now normally you would not use autofocus when shooting with the DSLR camera. As you can see, it's very well balanced. 7.5 pounds seems to be great for the T3i and the 10-22 lens. But the cool thing about the software is I can manual focus. Now, you would never ever manual focus while shooting and want to keep that because it's gonna keep that footage because it's gonna make a really loud noise and it's gonna look really weird. But you can pre-focus with it. Again, when it's up in the air, you have no way to actually manually focus, so this is the only option you have. If I could have the camera in my hand, I would be manual focusing the whole entire time, not using autofocus whatsoever. So, we've got the manual focus on, or autofocus on. Everything looks good. So all I gotta do is just push this record button and we're actually gonna do some recording. So I'm gonna go on and put the record. All right, so we are now recording. So one thing I wanna mention real quick before I start doing some shots and showing you guys how this bad boy works is I do have my tripod a little bit lower. One of the reasons is because, again, this is not a very strong tripod, so if it's a little bit lower to the ground, it's going to do a much better job of doing what I need it to do. But for bigger shoots, when I'm not doing a review, I'm going to want a better tripod that allows me to bring the actual jib a little bit higher off the ground so I can get it higher up in the air. Here, you know, it's not going to get terribly high, and I'm not going to be able to shoot looking down on someone as well at this height. So, again, this is kind of how I'm shooting. I keep my monitor here. I have full control of how I'm going to control the actual camera here. As you guys can see, I'm controlling shooting down, all the way down, if you need to shoot directly down, or if I want to shoot directly up, I can do that, and I can just watch my monitor here so I know what kind of shot I'm getting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring her up, and I like to put my hand, that's the other reason I like it, this longer screw, is I can put my hand here. For me, this feels like a very comfortable position, and then I can just bring my shot up, and then I can bring her down. Brian, actually my camera guy, I'm going to have my camera guy actually walk up to the front. You just want to walk out there into the front of the jib there, Brian, for me. Brian's going to make his debut here. And there's Brian. He's sitting there. He's shooting all the video for me today. Brian, if you just want to walk over to your right, and we're just going to follow you. As you can see, I'm just following Brian. And I'm shooting right into the sun, so there might be a little bit of glare. Brian, you want to walk the other way for me? And if I want to do something lower, let's come down a little bit. And there we go. And now we can see Brian much lower, and we could even get all the way down to the grass. As you know, we're focused on the grass, so let's make sure we got it right focused on Brian there. There he is. And then Brian, if you want to just back out to the little, I guess, pavement out there. So I find the best way to do it is if I'm angling, as you notice I'm moving my angle and moving my height. I like to do it at the same time, so to kind of counterbalance it. As you're moving your angle, you're moving your height, not getting to where I need to go. So it just takes a little bit of practice to do both. If I want to do a spin around, I'm just going to spin it. I'm going to be very smooth. Now you can do a fast or a slower spin. I've just kind of got a nice, steady, smooth spin here. I'm just going to do a 360. There's Brian again. And we're gonna go up. We can check out some trees. We can look straight up. So it's pretty cool what this little jib can do for, you know, under $300. And back down to Brian. And you pretty much have full control. And then Brian, if you just want to get like, keep coming in. Let's just shoot Brian straight down. Alright, that's good right there, Brian. And there we go, we're shooting Brian straight down. So now we're going to stop recording. Hit the monitor there. So that is the Proam Dvc200 8-foot long travel jib. It's pretty amazing. You could run a different monitor. They do have a monitor piece, which I think is like $10. So I just had that piece sitting around the house, and I was like, why spend the money when I can just make my own makeshift monitor setup? So that's exactly what I did. So all in all, if I had to give this thing a rating, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, I'm pretty soundly comfortable in saying that I'd give this a 4 out of a 5. Since this is one of the only jibs I've ever used, I don't want to give it a 5 out of a 5 because I really don't have a lot of knowledge on jibs, on, you know, far as, you know, what different aspects and different things that other jibs do provide. But this is still an awesome jib. I would suggest, if you get one of these, go on and get yourself a quick release plate so that you can put your camera, you can take your camera on and off, so you don't have to do this every time. This is a little time consuming and it's a little frustrating. But for this aspect, I'm borrowing it from a friend. I don't own this, and the way I've got it set up works for me for this review. So I hope you guys like it. Check us out on Facebook at DavidDimages, Twitter at Media Unlocked, and I'll catch you guys next time. I hope this helped you guys out.